Kepler College is one of the oldest, reputable astrology schools in North America. We have one of the most comprehensive, award-winning educational programs with more than 60 faculty members offering live online instruction year-round. Get ready to celebrate 25 years of quality astrological education with us. Kepler College teaches a wide range of astrological techniques, history, philosophies, and disciplines for all levels, from those who are curious seekers to dedicated students and seasoned practitioners. Our instructors possess outstanding astrological skills and wisdom, from fresh, innovative voices to established leaders in astrology. Many of our diverse faculty have worked in the field for decades. When you enroll in Kepler College, you join a strong international community of peers and future colleagues. Our program provides a strong foundation for professional practice, postgraduate study, or self-understanding. After studying with Kepler College, many of our students evolve from learners to leaders, establishing their practice and making meaningful contributions to the astrological community. Chart your course in astrology today with Kepler College.
Megna invites people to meet themselves through the mirror of the sky. Her work begins with a simple truth. The stars don't give us answers, they reflect them. What they show has been within us all along. A choice-centered experiential astrologer, Megna approaches astrology as a language of participation, not prediction, a way to notice what's unfolding and choose how to meet it with clarity, courage, and compassion. Certified in evolutionary and horary astrology and currently training in the yachtage lineage, she weaves Eastern and Western traditions, myth and method to turn information into awareness and self-judgment into self-acceptance. Megna has shared her work at NORWAC, OPA, ESAR, here at Kepler College, and the Astrological Association, UK, among others. Her teaching and readings share one aim: to make astrology useful. Because when we meet the chart as a living mirror, we remember that our riches, our freedom, our voice, our wisdom were never outside of us, they were always within. And for more information about Megna's wonderful work, you can visit her website at megnapaget.com. And Megna, you've got a new wonderful YouTube channel there, so you can see the handle. Certainly go and subscribe over there, and then you're also on Facebook. So Megna, it's always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us again at Kepler College, and I'm going to pass on the baton to you.
Thank you so much, Cal. Thank you, Mary, for being here. And thank you, Kepler College, for honoring me with your trust and with the opportunity to present at this really pivotal feeling juncture. Or maybe it's just because I'm presenting on it, I've spent so much time with it that it feels so pivotal, but it really does feel pretty incredible to me. I'm going to do a slide share. Well, like I said, there are rare moments in time when the beginning and the end make themselves really visible and available, like a living, breathing threshold moment, pulsing with aliveness, as if destiny itself were leaning in, inviting us into co-creation. This moment we're living in right now, the back and forth between the very, very end of the zodiac and the very, very beginning of it. The dance of Saturn and Neptune between 29 Pisces and 0 Aries feels like one of these pivotal moments. Doesn't it feel that way to you? I'm so happy to be with you all today, to respond to the invitation, and thank you all for being here. Before we dive in, if you know my work, you know that I love to begin with gratitude. We wouldn't be here today without the earth and the sky holding us in this living cosmos, without our ancestors, without our guides, without the divine. So to all those known and unknown, recognized and overlooked, ancient and contemporary, even the ones coming in the future who will carry this flame for us, who have stoked the flame of astrology, who have stoked and tended the wisdom traditions we offer, our deepest gratitude. And always, always to the divine, to the throbbing, pulsating source of life, for this remarkable existence, that which resides in all of us and inside of which we all reside. We thank you. I can't see you right now, but I hope that you are breathing with me, finding that breath and settling into it. Before I go into the grounding meditation, what I'd like to do is just talk a little bit about what you just got yourself into with an experiential webinar. As Dr. Young says, it is not a matter of proving the existence of light. We see it in the sky every night and every day, but of blind people who do not know that their eyes could see. It's pointless to praise the light and preach it if nobody can see it. It's much more needful to teach people the art of seeing. Let me just put a caveat on that. I'm not here to teach us how to see, but I hope that we can all notice that in experiential work, through our connection with the cosmos, through a direct relationship with the sky and with the earth and our place here in this vastness, we can open the dialogue. And maybe this webinar can be one step toward that. So I invite you to participate. There will be prompts, there will be meditations, there will be opportunities to draw or write. Feel free to participate as much as you'd like. I encourage jump right in, but that's my style. If you want to wade in slowly, that's cool too. We're inviting into a co-creation with the cosmos. I'll ask you to share in the chat. That's the only way I know you're here. And I'd love to just hear from you in the chat to the extent that it feels safe enough for you to share in there. I know that this is a recorded webinar. I may repeat some of the things I see in the chat. So if you feel like it's too personal, maybe this is not the forum to say it. But if you come to the workshop in January, that will be an unrecorded space where you can share what's coming up for you and we can go deeper into it. What I'd like to invite, though we don't have confidentiality, is generosity, a generosity of spirit toward each other, an opening within ourselves and a holding of each other as we move into this huge moment that we are living through right now. And I'd like your generosity with me as I navigate a webinar where I can't see anybody and attempt experiential work with it. There are lots of wonderful and incredibly skilled astrologers who've shared a lot of wonderful information on the Saturn Neptune conjunction in Aries, and the back and forth dance between them. My aim today is not to rehash the wonderful themes they've discussed or the excellent work they've done. They've already done it. It's all over the web. You can look it up. You'll see some of them even in my sources. What we're doing today is entering the realm of the experiential, where we prioritize direct experience, subjective reality, inner knowing, and our intuition, co-creation, and conversation with the cosmos. Are you ready? Let's dive in. I'd like to invite you to settle into your chairs or however you're sitting or laying or however you're connecting right now with your body. If you're open to it, close your eyes. Take a deep breath. Settle a little further. See if you can make yourself maybe 10% more comfortable. Feel your own connection to your breath, how it animates your body, how your body is the earth itself. Continue noticing your breath and allow these words to wash over you. Hold me, behold me, be held by me, says Gaia, Mother Earth. She combs your tresses and your stresses with her long brown wizened hands. Her nails scrape your scalp, detangling knots. Her earthen textured hands scrape down your back, your arms, dislodging crusts, unraveling knots, clearing the spaces between the cells, yourselves, yourselves, creating space, breathing room, making room to breathe, to move, to change, to grow, to improvise, to expand. Deep Mother Brown, deep Mother Brown of the earth, beloved tender of all that sprouts and grows and blooms, that flowers and fruits, the holder, the transformer of all that. Come to us as soil. Come to us as our holder and protector. Surrender your troubles, she says. Surrender your bodies. Surrender your cares and your entanglements. Golden light received and warming, longing, lingering. Nowhere to go, nothing to do. Just be. I receive your tears, she says. They nourish the seeds. I am resilient. I have give, and I can receive. You resemble me with your vast containment, your inner void, pregnant with possibility. Stay open. Stay possible. I will manifest for you, through you, with you. Keep me in you, playfully, joyfully, deeply, steadily, with a pliable strength, a flexible durability, with sway and with balance, with laughter and sunshine. Keep embracing, keep feeling, keep being. I am with you now. I am with you yesterday, and I am still with you tomorrow. I am with you always. Let the final strokes of Mother Earth comb your tresses, and let your breath bring you back into your body. Wiggle your fingers and toes a little bit. Open your eyes whenever you're ready. Okay, I'm seeing a couple of hearts. Thank you. That tells me that you're back. Wonderful to be back with you. So here we go. From Pisces to Aries, from wave to particle, life, having just dissolved fully into oneness, once again rises. Imagine the force it must take for life to come from nothing into something. When Saturn and Neptune come together at the 0-degree world point of the new birth of Aries, they're taking the mystery, the intangible, and turning it into something that you can touch and feel and see and put your hands on and turn around and look inside of and go inside of and come outside of. It's turning it into something tangible. something concrete. Cal and Mary, please let me know if there's any issues with sound or visuals or anything, because I'm seeing hands. So, okay, so anybody who's given birth, I'm not a mother. I've birthed a few creative projects, and I know it's not the same thing. But for those who are mothers or fathers, you know what it does. Birthing takes everything, every single last little ounce of everything you've got. And then when the new life appears, it takes everything else you've got and things you didn't even know you had. My brother just became a father recently, and I'm watching firsthand, 1 degree of separation removed, how intense having this little piece of life be fully reliant on us is, and what his wife and him are going through. So I just want us to hold that idea of that kind of birth, what that baby is like when it first comes into earth. That's the 0 degree point of manifestation. It's not fully formed. It's going to need our care, and it's going to take every piece of energy to even just bring it out into the world. And who my brother was before he got this baby in his life, and who he is now, and who he will continue to be are two completely different things. Because as the semisonic song says, every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. There are endings that go with this beginning, and endings are not always comfortable. So I just want to hold us all as we're releasing, as we're grieving. In fact, some of the things I'm hearing so much of, which I'm sure you're experiencing, is that this moment is calling for the willingness to grieve. Yes, we can be excited about this new baby, but we can also mourn the fact that we don't have a life anymore outside of this baby for a little while. And all the things we had to give up to become the midwives and the parents of this new reality. Experiential astrology is about shifting from the head to the heart. We've already entered one of the places with that. What we're going to do now is go deeper into the archetypal. The place where archetypes come alive, where the language of archetypes really speaks, is in our hearts. And one of the ways they speak is through myth. So before we go further, let me take you into a story that holds the essence of what Saturn and Neptune can birth together. Their first moment of interaction. This story, some of you may know, is from Hesiod's Theogony. So once again, I'm going to invite you to put your pen and paper down, sit back, lean into your chair, and allow yourself to wade into Neptune's land of imagination and story. We'll begin with the spellbinding words of so many great tales. Once upon a time, a long, long time ago, before the world had edges, before seasons or stories or anything with a name, there was Gaia, the living earth. She wasn't just soil and stone. She was warmth. She was possibility, the kind of presence you feel more than you see. Maybe you felt her in that earlier grounding meditation. Everything that could be was curled up, pure potential, somewhere inside of her large, beautiful body, waiting, leaning in. Is it my turn yet? Above her was Uranus, the sky, vast, glittering, immense. In those early days, Uranus placed himself close against Gaia, covering her completely, holding her in his warm, tender embrace. Together, Uranus and Gaia mated. They created life. The Titans, the Cyclopes, the 100-handed Hecatoncheires. But Uranus hated them. And each time they were born, he hid them away in Gaia's wound, never let them come out. What began as this close, deep intimacy curdled into repression. Gaia ached under the weight of her children, the children she could not bring forth. In her anguish, she devised a plan and called her children to help her. But most of them were afraid of Uranus. He was so big and so powerful. Only Kronos, Saturn, stepped forward, called crafty-minded and bold enough to act. Do you hear the Aries? He wasn't the biggest, and he wasn't the fiercest, but he had a sharpness to him, a clarity that cut through fear. Gaia placed in his hands a jagged-toothed sickle of gray adamant, a weapon forged for the single purpose of cutting through the sky itself. That night, when Uranus came down to lie with Gaia again, the world tilted into a hush and anticipation. And from the shadows, Kronos struck. With a swift, single motion, Saturn raised the sickle and cut through the sky. The universe split open. Uranus recoiled upward, shocked, horrified, and pulled away from Gaia. And into that sudden space rushed air, wind, life-giving breath. The first gasp of a world being born. But liberation is never simple. With liberation from the blood of Uranus came life falling onto Gaia's soil. New beings rose like sparks from a fire. The Furies, with their fierce eyes and stormy wings, they were born to avenge every injustice, every wrong. Judge, jury, and executioner, all tied up in one. The giants, huge, wild, unstoppable. Their energies ambivalent, they shook the earth with every step, raw power made flesh. And the Meliae, the ashwood nymphs, graceful, quiet, glowing like light through leaves. They carried sap and honey and were said to nurse early humanity, our earliest ancestors. Born from a violent act, yet emerged as healers, guardians of trees, keepers of gentle nourishment. Kronos flung the severed genitals of Uranus that he had just lopped off right into the ocean, into the sea. I read this as the very first time Saturn and Neptune interacted. There, the waters foamed, and from the foam, a maiden formed, Aphrodite, the goddess of love, beauty, magnetism, born not from peace, but from upheaval, not as a child, but as a fully formed goddess of love, of desire, and the magnetic pull toward connection. So in this single world-altering moment of birth, the whole world comes into existence. Love and vengeance, creation and chaos, nourishment and upheaval, all enter the world, all at the same time, all from the same act, all carrying the same birth chart, expressing in all the myriad ways. And isn't this the paradox that the myth reveals? That when something long suppressed finally breaks open, everything emerges. The shadow, the potential, the rage, the beauty, the healing, the possibility, new life. This moment mirrors what Saturn and Neptune represent when they meet in Aries. A breaking point, a dissolution of what restrains the birth of something new, and the understanding that liberation brings both love and shadow, and it does it in equal measure. So now it's your turn. What themes about Saturn and Neptune and Aries did you hear? What connections did it bring forth regarding the Saturn-Neptune conjunction at 0 Aries? Maybe there's some things that trouble you about this myth. Maybe it still left you wondering. Take a moment and jot down, either in your notebook, and definitely please share some of you in the chat. What themes did you hear? What does this tell you about the Saturn and Neptune conjunction in Aries and the new birth at 0 Aries? Okay. I'd love to hear what the new definition is, and I'm gonna mess up your name there. Yulide. What's the new definition that's born for you? Kathy says to me, it's that love will be born again in this world, love and compassion. Fair enough, Leanne. Thanks for letting us know you're here, even though you can't share what you're thinking. Come to the workshop so I can hear what you're really thinking. Ah, yeah, indeed, Tammy. Beauty from chaos, nothing is wasted. Love and shadow from Pamela, letting go. A dissolution, change, new life. An opening lotus, beauty and rebellion. A little stuck in the suppression of the feminine. Ah, good. Thank you for naming that, Robin. Indeed. And what does it take to break free from suppression? The dissolution of Uranus terror. That change can come with discomfort. I mean, do we ever really get off the couch and stop eating bonbons and watching Netflix? Guilty, unless there's some deadline or something else looming over us, right? Ah, thank you for following up. You've been a frequent mover and you feel like you'll settle in the end. Amen. And maybe well, more on that later, right? A new way of relating. Independent leadership creation. Oh, hi, Sue, another Toastmasters member. And that the Furies will bring justice. Right. Now, here's the thing, right? Justice and the definition of justice and who gets to decide. That's going to be a big question as the Furies arrive. Of course, the Furies are the judge, jury, and decisioner, executioner themselves. Right. Yeah, that's how I feel too, Samira. The birth of a new love that I don't quite understand yet. And I'm kind of afraid to see what I might have to give up in order to birth this new love. Yeah, yeah, Amara. Indeed. I hope that this is an opportunity for all of us to be the love of Venus in the world, into wonderful, surprising oneness of this moment. Gosh, you guys, these are magnificent. Thank you so much for sharing. Oh, wow. Thank you. Thank you for your beautiful, beautiful sharings. There are so many creation stories, so many stories within every culture. And creation doesn't just stop at any moment. Every moment is full of creation. And every moment is a moment of creation. Every moment we stand at the crossroads of the Aries symbol. Every moment is a decision tree. Do I go this way or that way? And even the smallest ones create our reality. So when does creation begin and end? And what does it even mean to create? To transform something from one thing into another, to take the formless and give it form. The thing I like to do with myth is not to necessarily settle on any answers. The thing that myth does, which I think is incredibly powerful, is it gives us ways of imagining. Are you Saturn in the myth? Are you Venus? Are you the Furies? Are you Gaia? Are you Uranus? There's so many pieces in there. And how can we even say that we're not every single one of those beings in the myth? To look into ourselves and to see, how does this myth apply to me, to my life? This is not the oldest record of Aphrodite's birth, but it's the one that is most talked of and one that really resonates for me with this story. And please know I'm not making a political statement by saying any of this stuff about overthrowing repression. I'm making a broader statement that the birth of love comes after overthrowing repression. She's born naked. She's often pictured naked. She's sensitive, beautiful. She's unmistakably feminine, not just a soft feminine, but a raw feminine too. She wasn't, if you know many of her stories, she wasn't just a gentle creature. She was fierce. And what Saturn did was a fierce act of love. Zero Aries is about claiming power. It's not a passive, receptive sign. It's not Pisces. We're moving into action. When Saturn meets Aries, it's here to stake a claim. Think about that Saturn. That Saturn was sitting in his mother's womb. He's not the biggest. He's not the fiercest. He's the youngest. And he's the one. I mean, talk about Saturn in detriment, right? He's not necessarily equipped to overthrow his father, but to be put into a position where he has to do that and then to step up to it, saying, this is what I want, and I'm willing to burn, to slay with it, for it, to make it happen. It's love with a knife inside of its teeth, between its teeth, not inside. It's going to bring up fears, fears of claiming what we want, fear of being wrong, fear of being seen as selfish, fear of making a mistake. But here's the thing. If you claim the wrong thing, we're at zero Aries. Aries is the beginning of the zodiac. We have 2.5 years of trial and error. Claim again. Learn something new, claim again, forgive yourself and claim again. Of course, we want to watch for all the things we talk about with the dark side of selfishness and arrogance and strong-headedness and bullying and all of that. But Saturn is a fierce love. It can stand there with a knife. And maybe the one that we need to wield the knife on is something very close to us. And that's the part that makes it really hard to stake the claim with. Saturn. Saturn offers also a container, a containing vessel, a vessel that holds the magnitude of Neptune. To try to go into the ocean by ourselves with no vessel, it's doomed from the start. But to cultivate this vessel, the vessel of our body, to become the container of Neptune with discipline and with focus and with claiming the wants that are actually ours to want. But then, once we birth the thing, letting it grow, nourishing it, but not getting too attached. Saturn's problem is, it's working now, let's not change it. So Saturn, known for the golden ages, for overthrowing repression, also becomes the oppressor in the future. He repeats his father's pattern and swallows his own children, forgetting that he had to rescue himself. And his youngest repeats the same pattern and overthrows that repression. So let's watch the patterns. Unprocessed wounds return until we deal with them. I'm an evolutionary astrologer. What else is karma but unconscious patterns repeating? The purpose of experiential astrology, the purpose of Neptune, the purpose of Saturn together is to bring consciousness to the places that we have hidden even from ourselves. Neptune in Aries says that claiming power itself is neutral. The focus needs to be on love. We're entering a time when the future becomes sensitive to the quality of our presence. What we hold in our heart becomes what we birth into the world. So what matters is the source. Is it coming from pure intent, from love, or is it coming from a compensation of our wounds, of our resentments, of our angers? Our best contribution in this moment is to move toward kindness and love as much as possible. Clear our own wound so we're less likely to act from distortion. And we don't have to come up with what love looks like. The way to love is by clearing our own wound, our own resentments, our own angers, our own self-criticisms and judgments, and to forgive ourselves if we don't measure up every single moment, and to be gentle with ourselves. Neptune reminds us to be gentle, and Saturn reminds us to stay firm. The perfect blend of a pliable strength, a flexible durability. And when it comes time to let it go. The birth of love came from this interaction of Saturn, the Aquarian Saturn rebelling against boundaries that repress the full expression of Gaia. Our incarnations, are we repressing our full expressions of ourselves? When this act meets Neptune, the infinite ocean of compassion and love, this is the moment in which Venus is born, when Saturn and Neptune come together. Others are born from it too, the Furies, the Giants, the Méliès. But love comes from Neptune's vast ocean. And even if it is fierce, even if it is forceful, even if it is violent, Neptune can produce love. So always, from this myth, I take to always remember Neptune, to always remember love. I was talking to those same wise friends of mine, and I told them, God, when I say stuff like that, it makes me sound so schmaltzy. And they said, love is schmaltzy. And there's nothing wrong with schmaltzy. It's the mind that gets in the way and says, no, it has to be much more complicated than this. Maybe we don't have to make it super complicated. Maybe we just have to take care of ourselves. In India, we have this thing that if you take care of your own dharma, take care of yourself first, and then in concentric circles, those outside of ourselves, our closest family members, our neighbors, our community, and concentric circles out all the way to the world, we're going to be in much better shape than if we try to take care of the world without taking care of ourselves. So start here. And I guess that's the truth that a lot of wise beings say. This is a slide I had created for when I was doing a lot of work on Saturn and Neptune and Pisces, but I think it still really applies. I'm going to leave this up for a moment if you want to screen capture it, but I'm not going to go too deep into detail with this. But what this myth tells us is that Saturn knows how to survive and thrive. And Neptune is the all-consuming longing within us for oneness. Saturn is sharp, focused. Neptune is soft. There's sacrifice in Saturn. There's sacrifice in Neptune. And if you look at the myths of Aries, there's sacrifice in Aries. We are in a moment of sacrifice. The golden fleece was sacrificed to protect the children. Jason had to sacrifice. Medea had to sacrifice. Hercules, in his Aryan labor of taming the horses, had to sacrifice. There are sacrifices upon sacrifices upon sacrifices. But if we think of sacrifice only as giving something up, it just feels emptying. But if we think of sacrifice as making something sacred, all of a sudden, it's a very different thing. If we think of sacrifice as releasing what doesn't work anymore to have the thing that we want now, all of a sudden it changes everything. Or I hope it does. So I just wanted to put this in here because the first word in the Iliad is rage. And I'm not going to try to pronounce the Greek. The rage of Achilles. And the very last word in the Iliad is the tamer of horses. It refers to Hector. The walls of Troy had to come down, and Achilles' rage tamed for the end of the war. The Iliad is not the myth I'm using for this webinar because that takes us into a Piscean realm, into the Odyssey, and we've already been there. We're just finishing that one up. But I really want to just highlight that Achilles feels like a very Aryan figure, and he has to overcome his rage, tame his inner horses so that he can move into the next. So how does this story apply to you? A lot of you already shared how the story applies to you. But let me ask you more directly. What in you is longing to be born? What's been held back by fear, by perfectionism? What have you repressed? Are there wants you won't even let yourself dream because it's too expensive to dream of those things? I remember when I was a real estate investor many years ago now, I did a workshop, the first real estate workshop that I did. At the end of the workshop, I had tears in my eyes because I hadn't even let myself dream some of the dreams I had now allowed myself to dream around money and wealth that I didn't think were possible for me. What dreams have we snuffed out before they could even find the light of day? And how can we release the blocks to our own growth without carrying forward the very patterns that we're trying to break? This is a new birth moment. It is a moment of self-examination. This webinar is called Preparing for the Conjunction. These are the ways we prepare, by looking inward, by going inward and seeing what's there and what's longing to be born, and what patterns do we want to release and sacrifice so we can move into our new future. I'm just seeing this last little note in the chat. My communication, my voice, my knowledge. Feel like I have to know everything perfectly from the top of my head. No notes. Stops me speaking. Oh, well, I have notes, just so you know, Samira. You don't have to speak from the top of your head, but we would like to hear you speak. And thank you so much for speaking into the chat. So what I'd like to do now is to invite you into a contemplation of love. I have a few hearts here that I got from various images, all from Creative Commons licenses. And I want you to just take a look at these hearts and see which heart feels like your heart in this moment. When you know which heart is yours, take a moment to write into your notes or your journal which heart feels like your heart and why it feels like your heart. Now that you've had a minute or two to contemplate the hearts, think of a moment, and this one I'd also like to invite you, if you want to imagine into or go inward with your eyes closed, then feel free to do that. But if you would like to keep your eyes open, that's totally fine too. Actually, you know what? Somewhere in a notebook or on your computer or somewhere, write down 10 or 15 words of why you chose the heart you chose. They don't have to be long sentences, just a few phrases or words about why you chose the heart you chose as the representation of your heart right now. Now, what I'd like to do, invite you to do, and this is an exercise I learned from Jason Hawley, who learned it from Melanie Reinhardt. Connect those words. Just turn them into, just don't edit. Don't try to do anything fancy with them. Just connect those words. Start with "my heart is," and then use those connector words and turn it into a small poem for yourself. I'm reading your comments in the chat and it's just warming my heart so much. Like, this is my heart right here. Everything I'm doing right now, and it's so wonderful to be received by all of you. And I see a poem has come in. Thank you. Should I give you guys another minute? Do you guys need a minute or two, or shall we move to the next part? Oh, another. Rope heart, my heart is open, changing, growing, simple, green, nature background, flexible, natural. Pamela, thank you. And Carolyn's poem, my heart is foggy, with clouds, wispy, the green fertile beneath the wisps, somber. And here's Sue Minahan, my heart of creative love, healing beauty, found purposeful, repurposes my heart's intention, finding truth alive in deep remembrance, discovering unit of all, making my life live or live. Again emerge to beat into the blue of truth, the golden yellow of the sun's light. Well, we have so many poets amongst us. Beautiful to be with all these poets. Thank you. And the last one I'll read for now is from Tammy. My heart is loose, maintains boundaries to give and receive, opening to release into the freedom of unconstrained, unconditional love. How perfect. Thank you for that transition, Tammy. Indeed, to release. Because every new beginning comes from some other beginning's end. So here we are, back into this moment. We've done this beautiful exercise with your hearts. And what I'd like to do now is to invite you into a psychodramatic activity called the social atom. A social atom is an internal and a map of our internal and external relational field. It's the smallest number of relationships that make us who we are in the present moment. It is only for this moment in time. Do you see that little pin in the middle? That's you. And then the way it's connected to all the other pins is all the other people, beings in your life. And it doesn't have to be people. It can be groups of people. It can be your pets. It can be objects like our cell phones. How many of us live without those anymore? Anything that plays a big role in your life, anything that creates an attachment for you. So what I'd like to do is to invite us into an activity of creating your own personal social atom, a map of your relationships as they sit today. So I'm going to help you through the instructions. You are going to need a piece of paper and a pen or a pencil. If you have coloring pencils, great. If you don't have them, no problem. We're going to get started on the social atom today, And then we're going to move. I'm going to give you some instructions that you can continue working on it long after our workshop is finished, because I think that this activity itself is a really big piece of preparing for the Saturn-Neptune conjunction in Aries. It's about us seeing how we're connecting in our world, where our love is blossoming, where our love is shrinking, where we're afraid of expressing our love, where we're doing it openly and abundantly, just all of the different dimensions of where we sit in our lives. You could even do the social atom with the myth we just did about Gaia and Uranus and Saturn and Neptune and all those characters and see who you are in each one. But that's going to be not the one we're doing right now. I want to go right into your own lives. So on your piece of paper, put yourself at the center. You could put a circle around yourself. You could put a heart around yourself, a star, a square, whatever shape you like. Put yourself in the center. Now, around you, create symbols for the important relationships, including, again, people, animals, higher powers, groups you're part of, major concepts, like if you are interested in being really connected to your health, or your business is a really big part of your life, or anything else like that. Place those around you in whatever level of proximity that feels like they fit for you. It's not about how close or distant they are to you geographically. This is more of an emotional map. So if somebody lives in California or in 3,000 miles away or 10,000 miles away from you on the other side of the world, and they feel really close, you can put them closer to you. But if the geography makes a big difference for you, include the geography. So put these different beings and objects around you in this space. I'm just going to give this instruction, but I'm going to give you plenty of time, so don't feel like you have to rush. Now, from you to each of these relationships, draw a line. The line represents the characteristic of how the relationship feels to you. So maybe it's a straight line or a smooth line. It's an easy relationship. If it's a jagged line, maybe there's a strain. Maybe it's part smooth, part jagged. Maybe it's dotted or dashed because it's ambivalent or uncertain. Be creative. Allow yourself to come up with your own symbol for how the relationship feels and how you relate to these beings in your life. You could even use red, yellow, green, or other colors. I hope you weren't thinking that you're just going to sit here and stare at your screen the whole time for this webinar because you're going to be really bored right now. And I'm glad that you're hopefully drawing your social atom right now. That's right, Bailey. There are so many when you put them on paper. You can, for now, pick just a few to focus on. Pick like 2 or 3 for now. You can keep working on the social atom when you're done with the workshop too. But for now, we're going to do one more piece. Now, from these beings that you have placed on your emotional map, your social atom, I want you to see if you can step into the role of that being. And from that being, draw a line back to you. Do you imagine that this person feels the same about your relationship with them? Is the flow either whatever it is mutual? If that's the case, then just draw a two-sided arrow so you know it's the same mutual flow. But are there people in your life who you might be feeling uncomfortable with, but they feel just fine with you, or vice versa? Step into the role of a few of these relationships. And just for a moment, Imagine how they might be looking at you, how they might view you. Let me know in the chat how you're doing with this exercise. Is it flowing for you? Is it hard? Is it? Yeah, yeah. Thank you, Renee. It is. Oh, well, um, I'll explain it again, Samira. I'm sorry. You didn't fully understand it. Start with a circle in the center. That's you. And then draw a shape for other people in your lives based on their emotional proximity to you. And then draw lines between you and those other people to demonstrate. I wonder if I could draw on this screen. Like imagine you're the center pin, and then these other outer pins are the relationships in your lives, and the thread connecting them are the lines that you draw, and the shape of the lines and the color of the lines determine how you feel about those relationships. So what I would like you to do is, as you're looking at the social atom, I want you to think about what the bigger picture is. Imagine we're now looking at just the pattern of what you have on there. Does it look the way you thought it would? Are you noticing things that might be missing? Things that might be that you thought would never be on there and are on there? The proximity. Are there surprises in proximity? What are you noticing about your social atom just as it sits right now? This is your social atom. You don't have to show this to any other person. Be as honest as you can, because this is your map for the preparation of the conjunction, of allowing your birth to be a birth of pure intent and not one coming to compensate for any unseen wounds. If you'd like to share anything about the pattern that your social atom is taking, I'd love to hear also. Oh, glad you got it then, Samira. Yeah. Yeah. Well, the good thing, Bailey, that you could have used a bigger area to draw it is you can. After we're done today, you can actually draw the social atom again. In fact, I would even recommend maybe doing it a few more times. Ah, nice, Yvette. Oh, wow. Nice noticing, Robin. Yeah, a discombobulated nerve ending. Yeah, some of our relationships do feel that way, don't they? I wonder how. Mm, nice. Some of you are already doing the shedding. Nice. So, were there any surprises when you looked at how those people might relate to you when you try to sit into their position and see yourself from their perspective? Any surprises there? Oh, thank you, Debbie, for the social atom instructions. Yeah. I'll check out that link myself. I bet. I bet. Diane, some find me easier than I find them. Right. And I definitely think some people find me easier than they actually find me too. That's my particular thing yeah, because of how because of how we all are, how I am. Oh, interesting. You found yourself being more critical of yourself when you were in their position, Trisha. Very interesting. And how much of that do you take on or not? And maybe inviting. Here's the thing with the social atom when you're doing that relationship thing, you can have both sides of the conversation. So you can have them talk to you and say, I feel critical of this. And then you come back to your part of the circle and say, this is how I feel about that and how I respond to it. And you can have a whole conversation with this being and resolve a lot of things without ever having to go talk to them in person. Let me just add a caveat. I'm not advocating not talking to people and resolving issues directly with individuals, but sometimes this is a really good way to get the initial emotion out so that when you go talk to the person, the rawness isn't quite there. Because let's face it, Venus is naked, she's tender, and she's really, really sensitive. Sometimes when intensity meets sensitivity, there's hurt on both sides. So this can be a really great exercise for tempering that a little bit. Nice. Oh yeah, it can feel like it's a lot. It is like parts work. J.L. Moreno, who's the founder of psychodrama and this exercise and many, many others, a lot of his work has moved into a lot of different fields. In fact, a lot of psychodramatists say that IFS was born of psychodrama. So what I'd like to do now is to give you something that you can take with you outside of here also. This is your new birth social atom. So you have a social atom right now of what your relationships are and your emotional map of this moment. Now, what do you want to birth? What do you want it to look like? Who, if in your ideal world, who would be in the social atom? How would the lines change? How would the distances change? How would the color change? Would new things show up on there? Would some of the things be gone? Be gone. So this is something that you can begin now or you can do later. I know that we are at 48 after, which is very close to the 90-minute mark. And I want to give us a little bit of time for questions at the end if you want. But you can take a screenshot of this and use it for later. And of course, the link that was shared in the chat is also a great way. But this is the social atom of possibility, the new birth, your own myth. How are you going to birth into this new moment? How are you going to birth love in this new moment? And what does your social atom need to look like in order for that new birth to happen? And then the rest of the journey between now and February 20th is how do you get yourself to a place where that can be a possibility? I'm not expecting us to turn the new social atom to the thing it becomes on February 20th. What I'm hoping is that we have a sense of what that new social atom will be and that we work through this new cyanotic cycle to give ourselves the exact thing we want. With a very important caveat, we contain it in this social atom, but we give that social atom and ourselves room to breathe. If we look at the new social atom that we've created and we're like, no thanks. I don't want this anymore. Scratch it off. Start again. Give yourselves permission to birth again and again and again. So I call this the time capsule. Why did I call it the time capsule? The words time capsule came to me in the early dark hours of March 30th, 2025, just as Neptune hovered on the threshold of Aries. The days before that, for some reason, every time I would think of the 2959 moment of Pisces. I would get really teary and I would just start crying. And I didn't understand why. There was nothing going on in my life that brought up those tears. But as soon as I would invoke that moment of 2959 Pisces, something in me would begin to weep. There was a grief, and I didn't know what that grief was. And as I started exploring this concept more, I started to see. And then I wake up in the middle of the night. Might have been 3 or 4 in the morning in Santa Fe when where I was at that on that day. Those words start echoing in the space between dreaming and waking. I wasn't quite awake. I wasn't quite asleep. And when I woke up, they were still there with me. I didn't know what they meant. Did they want me to create a literal capsule, a buried box of memories, put some music and journal entries in there and box it away for later, or something else? I couldn't understand what they meant or what by they, I'm just thinking of my guides or guidance. Time passed and it kind of receded to the back of my mind. And months later, as I was sitting with some of these wise friends, out of nowhere, one of them says the same words, time capsule. They describe a lifetime as a time capsule, every moment as a time capsule, holding both the memory of oneness, the Neptunian ocean of infinite possibility and oneness, and the ache of forgetting. Their words struck something really deep in me and reignited the question, what am I supposed to understand about time capsule? Maybe some of you have already made the connection. I hadn't put it together yet. And I hadn't slowed down enough to really sit down and put the pieces together. Not until I started preparing for this webinar, which I purposely named Time Capsule to force myself to sit with the phrase. And as it usually happens, when we train the attention of our focus, the Saturnine attention of focus, using the mind to do what it does best, to focus on something, especially with a deadline, clarity dawned. The time capsule wasn't something to create. It was something to uncover. It was something buried deep inside me. The deeper possibility of the time capsule is that the real time capsule is inside each of us, buried in the moment we first felt alone, when we first forgot our belonging. It's the memory of oneness waiting to be unearthed so we can heal the wound of separation, so we can return to love. It's 1:53 and we still have time for questions. Let me just share that if you'd like to go deeper, we're going to do a much deeper 6-hour, 3 days each web workshop, which will not be recorded so we can share. I can see you guys on video, which I would love to do. Like I'm getting to finally see Cal, another human being here. I would love for you to join us for the birth of love. The reason I have it scheduled for the 10th and 11th is because I want to give us a couple of weeks before Neptune goes into Aries and a couple of weeks after both Saturn and Neptune meet each other in Aries to really seed this beginning. Together as a group, we'll co-create a practice that's personalized, that's individual, that's custom, that's our practice for ourselves to rehearse through that 4-week period so that together we form a web around the world, holding the possibility of birthing love. It truly has been an honor and a gift to be with you all today. I'm blown away by the tenderness and the beauty that each of you brought to this thing. For those who were quietly holding the space with us and to those who shared in the chat, thank you so, so much for being here. I am a big believer that I get better when I get feedback from people. So what I would love is, I'm going to put this link in the chat, and I'd love for you after the webinar is finished to go into that and just take a couple of minutes and give me your feedback on this talk. And if you give me your feedback, then you'll be on my mailing list and you'll get to hear about things that I'm doing. And I might even come up with a meditation that I nixed from this just because of the time around love. And here are some of my sources that I used. Some of the ones that I really enjoyed around the Saturn, Neptune, and Aries archetypes. And let's go deeper together.